That thing you do every day without even thinking about it. Scrolling, not working, not studying, just scrolling. But here's what most people don't realize. That simple habit might be quietly damaging your mental health, not in an obvious way, but slowly, over time. In today's episode of vpaw.ai, we're breaking down something serious. How hours of social media use can act like a hidden trigger, one that increases anxiety, lowers self-esteem, and even raises the risk of depression. Let's start with something shocking. The average teenager today spends over 8 hours a day on screens. That's not entertainment anymore. That's a lifestyle. And at the same time, teens are now 50% more likely to experience depression and 30% more likely to attempt suicide compared to 20 years ago. So the question is this just a coincidence, or is something deeper going on? For years, scientists weren't sure. Maybe people who feel depressed just use social media more. That seemed logical. But then, a long-term study changed everything. Researchers followed kids from age 9 to 13, tracking their behavior year after year. And what they found was surprising. When social media use increased, depression increased later. But here's the twist. Depression did not lead to more social media use, which means it's not just sad people going online. Social media itself is contributing to the problem. Now, let's take it a step further. Because it's not just about if you use it, it's about how much. In one study, young adults were divided into two groups: people who used social media for more than 6 hours a day, and people who used it for less than 2. The difference? Massive. Heavy users showed much higher levels of depression, anxiety, and lower self-esteem. And here's the scary part. Every extra hour of scrolling made things worse, not better. So now the real question becomes, why? Why is something so normal? Having such a strong effect on the brain? The answer is uncomfortable, because it's not just usage, it's design. Think about this. Have you ever opened an app just for a minute, and suddenly 30 minutes are gone? That's not an accident. That's infinite scrolling. No stopping point, no natural break, just endless content, like a road with no exit. And then there's something even more powerful, the slot machine effect. You don't know what you'll see next. A funny video, a message, a like. So your brain keeps checking again and again because it's chasing that tiny dopamine hit. Not information, not connection, just a feeling. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Not all scrolling is the same. There are two types of social media use, and only one of them is really dangerous. First, passive scrolling. This is what most people do. You open the app and just watch. Scroll, compare, scroll again. This is where the damage happens. Because your brain is constantly seeing perfect lives, perfect bodies, perfect moments. And without realizing it, you start comparing. Why isn't my life like that? That quiet comparison, that's what drives anxiety, low confidence, depression. Now the second type, active use. Messaging friends, talking directly, real interaction. And here's the surprising part. This type showed almost no negative mental impact. So it's not just social media itself, it's how you use it. Now let's talk about something most people ignore. Sleep, because this is where things get worse. Around 75% of people use social media after 9 p.m., and that creates a problem. Actually, two problems. First, the blue light from your screen blocks melatonin, the hormone that helps you sleep. Second, your brain stays active, stimulated, alert. So even when you put your phone down, your mind doesn't switch off. And over time, that lack of sleep builds up. You feel more tired, more stressed, less focused, and you think, it's just life. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's the way your brain has adapted to constant stimulation. Because here's the truth. Your brain changes based on how you use it. Not instantly, but slowly. Day by day, scroll by scroll. And one day, You feel less sharp, more distracted, more anxious, and you blame age or stress. But what if it's something much simpler? What if it's just the way you're using your phone? Because the good news is, this is fixable. You don't need to quit social media. You don't need extreme changes, just small shifts. Be more intentional, less passive scrolling, more real interaction. Set boundaries, especially before sleep. And most importantly, pay attention to how you feel after using it, because your brain is always giving signals. You just have to notice them. So the next time you pick up your phone, ask yourself one question. Am I just scrolling, or am I shaping my mind? If this video made you think differently, make sure to like and subscribe for more science-based insights. And tell me in the comments, how many hours do you spend scrolling every day?